Well, good morning. Thus far in the book of Galatians, we've been talking about the inability of the law to save. Now, if you're thinking like the original listeners were thinking, you're asking the question, well, if the law can't save, then why in the world do we have the law? Well, it's a great question, and he actually answers that in Galatians 3:19. It says in Galatians 3:19, why then the law? It was added because of transgressions until the offspring should come, to whom the promise had been made, and it was put into place through angels by intermediary. Now, an intermediary implies more than one, but God is one. Now, with all of the talk on the law, the listeners begin to wonder, well, if the law can't save me, then why in the world do I have the law? What's the purpose of the law? Well, he tells you here, he said the law was given because of transgressions. You know, if you go back into the original giving of the law, way back in the book of Exodus, you really begin to discover that God gave the law as a civil standard for governing society. That if this society of Israelites, those that have been called out in the name of God, would apply these things to their lives, then certainly it would help to govern the affairs of their lives. But the truth of the matter is, although the law was given for that purpose, it was never given in order to save. As a matter of fact, nowhere in the Bible does it say that the purpose of the law was to save. So people misinterpreted it, and they thought, well, the only way to be saved is to try to keep this law. Now, your Bible may even say this: the law was given in order to define transgressions. In other words, the law was given to call sin, sin. You might even want to picture the law like that speed limit sign out on the highway that you drive daily. You go out there on the highway, and if you're going a certain speed, it doesn't really matter. The sign says go 70. And if you go more than 70, then you are at risk of being pulled over, because 70 is the law. Well, the law was given to define transgressions. It was given to call sin a sin. But isn't it interesting that whenever you find out something's a sin, sometimes it's the very thing you want to do? I mean, how many of you actually go 70? Something about the sign 70 makes you want to go 72 or 73. Well, that's really what the law did. In Romans 7, Paul says, I would not have known about coveting had the law not said, thou shalt not covet. But when the law said, don't covet, it produced in me coveting of every kind. The law in and of itself calls out sin, defines sin, but it has a way of causing us to want to sin. It's only Christ that can liberate you from that sin. The law calls sin, sin. Christ pays for sin. Thank the Lord today that even when you mess up, even when you sin, even when you fall short of the glory of God, Christ has prevailed in every way. He paved your way to the Father so that you might glorify Him in all that you do.